Well, good morning. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land that we are gathered on today is the traditional territory of the Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and the treaty lands of the Williams Treaties First Nations and other Indigenous peoples. And we also honor the Chippewas of Georgina First Nation as our closest First Nation community. On behalf of Honorable Catherine McKenna, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, it's a pleasure to be here with Honorable Christine Elliott, MPP Newmarket Aurora, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Health for Ontario, and Mayor John Taylor for this important announcement for the residents of the town of Newmarket. These are unprecedented times, and for over a year now, we've been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and learning how to cope with these new realities. We're in a health crisis, but we're also in an economic crisis. And while this pandemic has been challenging for all of us, we have an opportunity to build back better and stronger. We have an opportunity to build a stronger and more resilient community. Communities, businesses, and families have been dramatically impacted throughout the pandemic, and frontline workers continue to be our heroes. The Government of Canada is investing over $92.1 million in municipalities through the COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream of the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, and the Government of Ontario is contributing more than $23 million. On June the 9th, 2021, the Honourable Catherine McKenna, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities and provincial partners, announced over $115.1 million to support 30 municipalities across the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area as they respond to the impacts of COVID-19. And today, I'm proud to share that the federal government is investing $420,726 of that funding towards two new projects in Newmarket for the Newmarket National Homes Multi-Use Pathway and the Newmarket Pond 74 Wetland Restoration Project. With these investments, the town of Newmarket will be able to rehabilitate and restore Pond 74 wetland. John, you'll have to remind me where that location is. And it will also create a series of pathways to connect Kingsmere Avenue and the National Homes Trail Network. Local residents and visitors will benefit from the creation of new and restored pathways and trails in Newmarket. And this is another example of how our federal government is working to keep Canadians safe while investing in the future through the strategic infrastructure investments. As part of the COVID-19 Resiliency Stream funding, the federal government is providing 80% of the total costs of these projects, including here in the town of Newmarket. Canada's infrastructure plan invests in thousands of projects, creates jobs across the country, and builds cleaner, more inclusive communities. In Ontario, we've invested over $8.3 billion through our infrastructure plan in more than 2,880 projects and counting. And the upgrades that we're announcing today build stronger communities and protect our frontline workers, our children, our parents, and our grandparents. We need to build today for a future that we want tomorrow. And together, we will get through this pandemic and we will make this a stronger community. Thank you very much. I'll invite comments now from Honourable Christine Elliott.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that our community was able to come together for this announcement. Thank you, MP Van Bynen and Mayor Taylor, for your dedication to serving the members of our Newmarket community. I know that this has been a challenging time for the people of Newmarket as we continue to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to thank everyone in our community for doing their part by continuing to follow public health measures and getting vaccinated. As you know, Ontario will enter step 2 of our roadmap to reopen tomorrow. This is exciting news and a sign that there are better days ahead. Our government is committed to supporting municipalities as they address the impacts of COVID-19. Through the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, the federal and provincial governments have committed over $1 billion in combined funding through the COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream. This funding will help build and renovate health and safety-related projects in long-term care homes, schools, and municipalities. It will also help municipalities address critical local infrastructure needs during the pandemic. The Town of Newmarket projects announced today will receive over $105,000 in provincial funding. A portion of this funding will be used to support restoration of the Pond 74 wetland in the College Manor area. The rehabilitation of this wetland will help to eliminate the risk of flooding while increasing the wetland's capacity to manage natural stormwater. It will also result in a beautiful wetland for our community to enjoy. The funding will also be used to support the creation of a multi-use trail pathway. Having safe access to our parks will ensure that more members of our community can enjoy them. This trail pathway will enhance Newmarket's trail system for our residents and families for years to come. As the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted, investments in key infrastructure projects and the health and wellness of Ontarians is critical. Supporting local infrastructure projects helps to protect families and our communities, making them stronger, healthier, and safer. Our joint investments will benefit all residents in Newmarket. Together, we are rebuilding the economy and creating healthy and safe communities across Ontario through our federal-provincial partnership. Thank you.
Our thanks to Minister Elliott for participating with us virtually. It's my opportunity also now to introduce the Mayor of the Town of Newmarket, Mayor Taylor.
Well, thanks very much, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me. I think we live in very difficult and very complex times right now, and we see from the pandemic our need to really rally together as a community and think about the safety of all citizens and the support for all small businesses and the efforts that we need to undertake that to work is so important to our communities right now. And we also are realizing more and more the need to the responsibility to participate in the truth and reconciliation process and to be strong allies to the Indigenous communities that across this country and our neighboring area. And so responding to the community needs is something one has to change and pivot with times. And the community looks to us to provide critical infrastructure for the future of our communities, and that is almost always done in partnership with the federal and provincial governments, working with municipalities locally to address some of these infrastructure needs. And those infrastructure needs also change and pivot with the times that we live in. If you think about it, these infrastructure announcements 20 years, 30 years ago would have been about a road or a bridge. Today, it's about a multi-use path and a wetland. And we know from COVID more than ever that our residents need the ability to get out safely, to be outdoors, to be active, and to move around in different ways than just the car. We also know the importance from climate change telling us that we have to protect our wetlands. We have to manage our stormwater better and differently. And so the response of the times we live in calls us to look at and prioritize differently and to respond differently. But we continue to work with the provincial and the federal government to try to advance the areas of need, to try to advance infrastructure, critical infrastructure in advance of its greatest time of need, and to provide for the community the kind of amenities and environment that they wish to and hope to live in. And we take great pride in the town of Newmarket as a town of trails. And so this trail in the Kingsmere area will be a wonderful addition. And this stormwater pond in the College Manor area, of course, will not only help us manage stormwater, which is a huge challenge always, and a growing challenge we know with climate change, but it'll allow us to protect and enhance that natural wetland, which are becoming more and more important. So again, to the federal and provincial government, thank you for your partnership in these announcements and in generally in infrastructure delivery in the past and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It's also great to see that Tracy from the Newmarket Chambers have been able to join us, and equally important in terms of the investment in the environment and the multi-use paths is the jobs that it's going to create. So that's all good news. So thanks for signing on and joining us as well, Tracy.